Welcome to the MSP Corner podcast. Before we kick off our show, we would like to share what our main objective is at the MSP Corner. Our main goal is to help CEOs build profitable and self-sustainable IT service firms. We are not just providing tools for IT firms, we will be sitting in meetings with you to ensure your IT firm stays on track. The first area we are focused on, strategic sales. IT firms are stuck selling technology or IT support. We will provide you with the blueprint so you position your firm as an added value to your prospects. We will have framework on how to sell value so you influence the prospect into selecting your firm. The second area we see many IT firms struggle in is marketing. 90+% of businesses rely on antiquated marketing methods. The most popular choice, word of mouth. We have proven methods on how to attract the ideal prospect. Our framework will include how to become the online authority and be the business influencer for an industry. The third component to our package, scaling. IT firms walk away from opportunities because they lack the bandwidth or skill set to scale. We have lined up reputable businesses so our members can hire on-demand resources that will allow them to scale their business. The fourth area we will offer help in, selecting the right tools. In order to deliver value, you need the right tech stack. Our platform will offer information on products that are the ideal choice for MSPs. The fifth area we will offer help in is with documentation. Templates are a critical component when building an MSP. We will have contracts, proposals, SOWs, collateral, and much more in the template section. You will have every document you need to start up your managed IT service business. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go to our next podcast. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into our podcast. I am your host, Fernando Leon. I'm joined by my co-host, Gregory Morabietz. And today we have a guest from Drippy Content, Tini Prajapati. And she is the CEO and founder, and she has been in the marketing industry for over a decade. She has worked at Microsoft, Capital Leads, Moby Apps, and she's been leading these firms with their marketing initiatives. And in 2022, she decided to be her own boss and founded Drippy Content. And small tidbit on her, in her spare time, she beatboxes. More on that later, so stay tuned. But a quick summary on Drippy Content. They're not just another marketing firm, it's a conversion powerhouse for MSPs, and that's what we like. We love conversions, but they focus on crafting compelling content that drives action, and Drippy Content helps MSPs connect with their target market effectively, ensuring every piece of content has a clear ROI. All right, before we get started, let's quickly go over today's agenda. We're going to get a little bit more on Drippy Content. Then we'll discuss the value they offer IT service firms. They're going to go over the approach of content creation. They'll share some examples and what are marketing mistakes, right? We all make them. Tini is going to share some case studies. And we'll also discuss marketing trends, what MSP should be aware of in the coming years. How does Drippy Content stay ahead of the curve? And this question came up as I was creating the show is, do they provide an email list or platform to deliver a message? I added a few more topics of how do they work with other platforms if MSPs have them in place? How long does it take to onboard a firm? And obviously, one of the most important questions, and I don't know, I'm hoping to get an answer is, where does pricing start? So Let's kick this show off. And Teeny, thank you again for joining us. I really appreciate you making time for the team. So let's start off with, you telling us a little bit more about Drippy Content and what makes you different from other marketing firms.
Yeah. Number one, thanks for the intro. Love hearing it. And Fernando and Greg, thanks for having me. I love this little community of little hungry entrepreneurs that want to grow, and that's certainly me. So,
Good.
you know, I focus on content, not for the likes and the loves. Like that's cool and all, but really, I create content that raises eyebrows and revenue. You know, I work with B2B teams on how to grab attention, build a loyal audience, and eventually convert them into customers and friends.
Well, that's really important, right, Teeny, because in order to get out of the obscurity, right, right now, a lot of these firms are floating around in obscurity. Nobody knows about them. There's no true online presence. I mean, even having a website doesn't mean you have an online presence. If nobody knows you exist, you don't. You might as well not even have a website. So, in order to generate interest, you gotta, just like you said, create content that's gonna generate a buzz, generate interest, engage your audience. So I'm hoping you could dive more into the value, right? That's the value we want to see from our marketing partners, because we the you know the, there's businesses looking for us today. Every minute of the day, somebody has problems. They have IT issues, security issues, backup issues, application issues, cloud issues. There are too many. We're responsible for too many things. There are too many problems. There are searches being made every day. So what is the value you offer IT service firms? Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, um, definitely hitting the nail on the head in a lot of those spaces. People are searching for a solution like yours today, like right now.
Yep.
But there's so much noise out there that, yeah, can they see you? Can they hear you? Can they even find you?
Yep.
Um, for me, I firmly believe, and this is kind of an ethos at Drippy, marketing comes down to, it's an act of memorization. If you're memorable, you're winning. You may not be winning revenue yet, but we can definitely pull some levers. If people can at least remember your name, that's something. But
Yep.
really, it's that second piece that I'm obsessed of, and it's conversion.
Yep.
And for me, conversion comes down to two basic principles: getting people to think and act. That simple.
Yep.
And when we create content designed to convert for MSPs, we start by really understanding, like you said, those immediate issues, those concerns that keep your potential clients awake at night. What are they losing sleep over? This insight is probably where everyone starts and everyone should start. But to me, if we only focus on those solving those problems, do we risk being just a break fix emergency, we're here when you need us type of solution rather than a strategic partner? So here's what I mean by that. I like to shift not only on focus on those immediate pains. Of course, those are the core of your services, but you know, there's things that are keeping your clients from sleeping, but also what gets them up in the morning.
Yep.
What does
Yep.
success look like to them?
Yep.
And it's about understanding their broader business goals, which often, it has nothing to do with tech.
Yeah, I agree. Teeny, you are preaching to the choir, girl, because you're absolutely right. I mean, this is about delivering value. And that's where a lot of these guys need your help in delivering that message of value. Delivering the value they could do. That's no problem. That's where
Right.
Gregory and I can come in and help them with that. That's not a problem, delivering the value. The challenge is crafting up that message that speaks value. Now that, because every just like you just said, I mean, I agree with you. Everyone talks about, hey, we deliver tech support and tech services, and look at our shiny new tool that's going to keep, that's going to keep us keep hackers away or whatever. It's like they don't want to hear that. They want to hear that you're going to increase production, you're going to keep them secure, compliant, whatever, along the lines that CEOs want to hear. So if you have that knack, if you have that skill set to deliver a message of value, you're going to have a very successful organization, because that's where a lot of these guys struggle with is messaging. How do you okay, so I'm getting away a little bit from what you do, but do you also help them with their messaging on their website? Because yeah, getting the message out, great, that's great, but can you also do a little bit deeper dive and go, you know what, you guys need to change your landing pages, you need to change your website messaging, you need to do this and that, this call to action? Do you also help there, or do you just stick to the email campaigns?
No, messaging is everywhere. Absolutely. Your
Okay.
website, like you said before, 20 years ago, having a website was enough.
Yep.
Saying you were here, let's
Yep.
do business was like it got you going.
Yep.
But that's not what's going to keep you going forward
Yep.
today.
Yep. I agree.
And the messaging, I see a ton of old school messaging that has nothing to do, it's just not customer centric. So of course it's hard to find clients. And if you're not having a unified message, straight from your website to your email to your social, but not even only that, like your entire team needs to understand this message. They are the evangelists, they're customer facing. Honestly, whether they're not they're customer facing, this is your mission that literally needs to be the culture of your organization in my mind.
Yep. Yep. No, no, no. You and I, we're on the same page when it comes to messaging. When it comes to, having that, and your brand, when somebody sees your brand, they need to understand, oh, they're the group that keep me HIPAA compliant. Not, oh, they implement a security software and they configure it this way to catch hackers. No, it's the group that keeps us secure and compliant, right? We don't want to be known as tech support groups. No, we want to be known as somebody who brings value, and you get it. You understand it. So that's so important, and that's something that needs to be implemented across the board, not just talked about.
I live and breathe it. And I'm obsessed with value.
Yeah.
One of the common things I see, especially on MSPs, uh, straight homepage. The first
Yep.
thing I'm looking at is for a lot of these people are, we've been in business for 20, 30 years.
Yep. Yep.
That
Yep.
that is awesome. But if you were thinking about dating, you're meeting strangers, you wouldn't say, yeah, I've been looking for a partner for 20 years or, this and that like that. There's a time and place for that, but your headline isn't it.
Yep. Yep.
It
I
needs to be
agree.
about what your solutions are doing for that customer, and it needs to be in a language that they understand.
Yep. I agree. I agree. You got to speak their language, or you're going to remember, just like you said earlier, it has to be customer centric. If it's not, who cares what you do or how much experience you have or how long you've been in business? That is not even relevant. What is relevant is the customer centric message they need to deliver. And I love what you're saying. You're on point. So tell us, how do you approach content creation to ensure it drives conversion for MSPs? I mean, this is the next topic I wanted to talk about, because you know everyone has a different approach, but just give us a quick over, a 50,000 foot overview of how you approach this, so people get an understanding of, wow, this is really hitting home for me, and I really need to speak to Teeny.
Yeah, I would love to. I love the 50,000 feet analogy because I am very much big picture, and I'm going to talk big picture with you before I get into the weeds. So, you know, What I like to go and do for MSPs is first and foremost, I have a customer value journey. Think about that.
Yep.
It's literally customer value journey. And it's surprising that so many MSPs or business owners don't have this mapped out, but it's essentially a playbook on 12 different steps. This is a 50,000 square foot view, but essentially you're taking people from strangers to acquaintances to
Yep.
friends and then partners and then promoters.
Yep.
That's what you
Can you
want.
give an example? Can you give an example of like one of those 12 steps?
Yeah. So, right in the beginning, we have an awareness stage. That's where people haven't even heard of so and so MSP, and they might stumble upon your post, or they might get a cold email in their inbox and they're like, "Who is this?" That's awareness. But then you start strategically refining your message to lead them into being acquaintances. Okay, they know you, they know of you, they might not have engaged with you, but can we get them to those next steps to eventually they're converting into a paying partner? Um, so it's I would love to, follow this up with a webinar and definitely put some visual on this because it's so simple. It's a diagram that I think a kindergartner can understand. Like it's just boxes and arrows. you
Yeah.
know, wha-
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be this complicated analytical algorithm driven thing. Like no, this is just literally moving an engine along and here's if it gets stuck, this is where it needs to go. So really mapping that out is the first step. Um, and also really looking at okay, what is working? What has gotten you here? Is it paid campaigns? Is it referrals? I want to say 10 times out of 10 for MSPs, it's referrals. And you'd be surprised when I ask that follow-up question. It's like, oh, okay, so what's that process look like? And they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
There there's no process around it. So it's literally you're throwing out, hey, let us know if you have anyone who might be interested. And that's it. You cannot scale that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree.
But if you
Definitely.
turned it
Go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, but if you turn that, referral into an entire strategic campaign that you can go out and test and have have a journey within that campaign that's A to B and then C and D later on, like so you can keep it going. That's scalable. That's measurable. Instead of throwing spaghetti on the wall and hoping it sticks, you know?
I agree. I agree. Um, yeah, the so when you are in the when you start to create these, I think that it would probably speak volumes by having a webinar because I'm a visual person, so giving us visual examples will speak volumes to our audience. So we'll
Yeah, I'd
wait
love
for
to.
that, right? Right? Because um most of us are visual people. Now, can you share an example of where content significantly boosted conversions for an MSP client? I mean, do you have a case study you can share?
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably my favorite case study of all time now. So I have a partner from Cincinnati, Ohio. They're called Brown Cow Technology. It's a fun brand. I mean, Brown Cow. My parents are from India. Like for those reasons, like cows are sacred in my country. So of course, like I have an affinity to it already. But you know, the owner came to me, frustrated with stagnant growth. They've been in business for 20 years and it's just old and sleepy growth. Like it's pretty much stagnant. So I'm actively working on really not so much a whole rebrand, but especially in our messaging and you know marketing materials that we're putting out, one of the things that we made was, I had the opportunity to work with Don Brown, the owner. He was working on renewals with his current clients. And, he gave me this table of services, the typical, you know, backup, EDR, blah, 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 all the services that you possibly have for a full managed service agreement. And he brought it to me and it was a boring table, like literally like Excel file basically and I was like, this is great, but there's got to be something easier to digest. So we had the idea because of our brand is brown cow. What if we turn services into like a butcher's cut diagram where every cut of beef has a function. And not only that, we're also trying to move from, the typical like one-off little services and move that client into more of a managed service agreement. So, we cooked, I literally cooked it up, made this diagram. Everybody loved it. It turned out cute and clever, but for me, the C word that I want is converting. So, I told Don, like, take this cow. It clearly it's different, but it clearly displays everything you offer and it's memorable to the point where, we can say you don't have to choose a cut of beef. We give you the whole cow. And it made sense, right? And I mean, for me, the best part about it is the results. It speaks volumes. Like we had a current client who I believe their MRR was like 1400, something around there, and it was very much a break fix type of client. But we showed him that awesome cow. It was just that one infographic. It led to him finally like having that light bulb switch in his head because we thought this client was going to walk away. Like, no way he's going to go from 1400 to 3300, which was what the MSA ended up being. And without even getting into the nitty gritty of what all these technical pieces do, he signed. Like, he was in. He was like, okay, I get it now. This is why I need this. So I'm not saying everybody go create a cow, make it fun and cute and clever. But like, yeah, if we could tie it to the brand somehow and still make it into a simple, engaging way to where even a caveman could understand it, man, that literally gets my dopamine going.
Yeah, yeah, no. And we understand that there's no silver bullet, and I think that I hope everybody out there is on that same page. There's no silver bullet, but we understand that everybody has unique needs. Everybody has a unique way, maybe a unique niche, unique, audience out there that type of campaign could work. So we just want creativity. We need creativity. And most important, Teeny, at the end of the day, you have to consistently do this. You cannot expect leads to be coming in or conversions to occur overnight. That's just not only is it unreasonable, it's impossible, right? And
Hmm.
you need to make that abundantly clear that this is a process. You don't Rome wasn't built overnight, right? And I know that's such a cliche, but it's very applicable when it comes to marketing. This took, we're our the MSP and the MSSP Gregory and I operate. um we were one of the top choices for specific keywords because we understand those keywords are highly sought after in our industry or our market. So we focused a lot of time on content creation for those keywords. And sure enough, in less than a year, because it took 10 to 12 months to become that authority for those keywords. I mean, that's a long time. A lot of people won't have that type of patience, but we understood what it takes with SEO. We just understand that whole algorithm and understand how what you need to do to become that authority. So we stuck with our plan, even though we didn't see an ROI within a year, but we knew what we had to do consistently. And that's what everybody needs to understand, that no one is going to start dating you tomorrow unless you are a consistent and reliable and stable individual, right? You don't want to be dating people that are unstable, right? Unreliable. And how do you know who you are dating, right? Because you have to understand that you're building a brand. And in order to build a brand, you got to build trust. You got to build rapport with your audience. And if you can help a lot of these guys consistently deliver a message of value, of trust, and building rapport with their audience, they will see a return on their investment. It's just inevitable. It just is. So, but
I love
yeah,
it.
but
I love the
go
way
ahead.
that you broke that down.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I understand it. I'm on your side, right? Because it works. It works. It just does. Once, and it leads me to the next the next bullet point is, maybe you get, because we're not a marketing firm. Here at MSP Corner, we developed this platform to connect resources like you to our audience. Our audience needs help. They need help selling value, and that's where Gregory and I come in. We help them learn. We teach them how to pitch value, how to position their firms of value. And part of that has to do a lot with the messaging. And that's where we can provide a lot of guidance and mentoring and things like that. But you're the one that's going to get the message out there. So tell us a little bit of some common marketing mistakes MSPs make, because I have conversations with other MSPs, and one of them the other day, it happened about a month ago. They had this SEO group in place for 7 years. They were paying them $1,500 for 7 years. Every month they would pay $1,500. And after I did the calculation, I determined they spent over $100,000 and not one lead had ever come in. These are very patient people.
Wow.
I was stunned. They had spent that much money, not ever getting one result. And after I met with the SEO group, I told them, this is why you're failing. I looked at their reporting. I looked at the keywords they were optimizing. I looked at, all this data, and I said, this is why you guys aren't converting. This is the reason you guys aren't generating any interest. This is why you're not engaging your audience. And they're like, wow. And I want to prevent that. I don't want guys to be hiring SEO people if they don't have to.
Right.
But and this is where your type of solution makes a lot of sense for a lot of these guys. So tell us some common marketing mistakes MSPs make today and how you can address these issues.
Yeah. No, I love that. All too often we see, not even just MSPs, but business owners, but MSPs, especially these days, like just from what I've seen, it's like you're you've got to a stage where you have maybe a seven-figure business. You need marketing. You need it to grow, and you check that box where, yes, you're saying I'm investing X amount a month for so many years, and it gets to a point where every MSP owner on this call, like, if there's one thing to take away from this, is if you are investing in marketing and you haven't seen any results in a year, something's got to change.
Yeah.
And number one, that's a big common mistake, is you feel like you need these things. Oh, I know I need SEO. I know I need to be on social, but what is the strategy behind that? And do you even understand it? Because if you can't understand it, then, you know, good luck. But One of another big common one that I see the MSP makes is focusing too much on the technical details of their services. And look, I get it. I'm a tech geek as well, in my own way, but like, and it's natural given the technical nature of the industry. But often, the second you start speaking another language to anyone, whether it's prospect, client, your staff, you've lost their interest.
Yeah.
And to today, I mean, I want to make the case that maybe rodents have more of an attention span than humans. It's certainly arguably, getting that way, but that attention span is getting shorter.
Yeah,
And you've
yeah,
got to be simplifying your messaging, to get people to understand why you're doing what you're doing.
yeah, yeah. No, that you've hit the nail on the head there because you're absolutely right. You only have 5 to 8 seconds to
Right.
capture somebody's attention, and that message you want to deliver, it better be compelling, and it better be delivering a message of value that solves their problem, because that's what they're looking for. I mean, we live in a world where it's very fast paced, right? I mean, that's the technology world is very fast paced. People need problems solved yesterday. So they don't have time to research you. They don't. They don't want to research you. They want to know that you can solve their problem. If you can, they're gonna want to obviously meet with you. And then the quickest way to confirm you're a reliable individual that you could be trusted with the keys of the kingdom is by checking your references, right?
Right.
You got to have great references in order to land new business. So yeah, it's that simple. It all comes down how quickly can you capture their attention, because you're right. It's very it's you only have a few seconds,
it,
sadly.
we're squirrely people at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
Yes. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So that leads to my next question is, in your view, what marketing trends should MSPs be aware of in the next, few years? What do you see that's very effective? What do you focus? What does your firm focus on? What are you doing today that is helping you grow? Because these guys want to know that, yeah, you may be talking a big talk right now, but are you following your own advice, right?
Hmm. Because good point. I mean, the biggest trend that I want to spend time talking about is content marketing.
Yeah,
Look, you see it everywhere, and it's not going away. It's
yeah,
only amplifying. Every platform out there is adapting to the way that we consume information. And honestly, these days video marketing is becoming increasingly more popular. Um and I have a prediction that the MSPs that continuously invest and sort of commit to marketing in ways that your audience is going to pick up on, like, those are the ones that are going to thrive. um and especially, we see all the social media and influencer marketing and all those things. I'm not advocating for an MSP to be an influencer by any means, but could you establish your MSP as a thought leader, a trusted source
yep,
through your content?
yep,
Absolutely.
yep,
And the firms that are doing that now are succeeding. And if you're not, you are going to miss that boat, and you're going to wonder why your business isn't growing, and you're going to stay stagnant.
yep,
You know,
yep,
it's not even that businesses are looking for trusted sources. It's just people.
Yeah.
People are literally looking for inspiration and what to do and how they should be operating. So the more you position yourself as a trusted voice and a consistent voice, not only are people going to join your, bandwagon, but also these algorithms,
Yeah.
and that's where that customer centric kind of positioning where I focus on like that comes first, and then the algorithms come second for me. Like if I can figure out what drives people to engage, or what resonates with people to get them to act, man, I'm going to be doing that for the rest of my life, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, no, I agree. We're very focused on video creation, and as you can see, we're also doing podcasts. And I tell these guys because I talk to we only work with IT firms at single point of contact, right? We're helping them deliver. A lot of these guys are small, right? They only have so much bandwidth, so they come to Gregory and I and single point of contact to they come across an opportunity that they just don't have the bandwidth. They need a 24/7 help desk. So we deliver a white label 24/7 help desk. We answer the phone as their organization. We respond to emails with their domain. So we set everything up. So these conversations, let me tell you, they're constant. So they are, I'm also telling them, look, in order for you to become the thought leader or business influencer for your industry or for your audience, you got to start creating content for to that speaks to them, that solves their problems, that is that will engage them, right? So podcast, webinars, short form videos, those are going to help. I tell them you got to create these in order to build this credibility. There's too many of us out there, too many. But when you start separating yourself from the pack, where you're like that lone wolf that delivers value, you're not just running around with everybody else and doing and regurgitating everybody else saying, you're going to
Right.
stand out and you're going to win more business. And I can see how you can help them do that, because I'm telling you, this content creation and message of value, it's going to help you. It's going to help MSPs win more business at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
tell me, how does Drippy Content stay ahead of the curve in such a, evolving digital landscape? Because there's, before it was just all blogs, email newsletters. Now it's podcasts, webinars, short form videos. What are you guys doing to, keep up with what's going on?
Yeah. I mean, marketing and technology, they're always changing. I don't need to tell you that. You guys see
Yeah.
it. Like I'm certainly a continuous learner. Like I'm just obsessed with learning what's new and how I can do my job better and spread it to other people. But, it's not that I'm just keeping up with that digital landscape. I'm staying a couple steps ahead, like especially when it comes to AI. AI
Yeah.
has literally changed marketing, and it's not enough to use these new tools. You've got to become a master of them. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm actively doing is, using these tools. I don't call it chat GPT. I call it chat GPT because it's literally my personal assistant these days. But, as a marketer, I can tell also when someone's posting content or I read something, I can literally tell it was written by AI most likely.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you're going to see a lot more of that as more
Yeah.
people start to slowly adopt on that. But I feel like I'm ahead of that train, and I've got these super specific prompts down to where I can get an intelligent response and also make it my own. Like, yes, these tools are there, but we've got to become operators, like not even just operators, masters, to literally make it our B words.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. So, do you provide an email list or a platform to deliver a message, or are you working with the MSP's platform they have in place, such as what is out there? I think it's Hootsuite or HubSuite or and then we have Market Builder by Enable, right? We have our
Right.
own email engine with content. Would you just would you work
Yeah.
with that or how would that work?
I am always, trying to keep every tool I can. So basically, it's a two-part strategy. One, absolutely, I go in there and work with your existing system. I'm not going to go recommend like you change platforms or anything like that. Like, no, let's use what's currently there. Let's get it optimized. Let's get it creating revenue. Um, and then also you mentioned market builder. You know, if you're an enable partner, you get market builders platform for free.
Yep.
I wouldn't say for free because you do have to go and tell it which campaigns you want to use and make sure it's up to brand and things like that in terms of messaging, but you have an entire toolbox of email campaigns, landing pages, social media, um and it's all right there. It's
Yep.
up to the MSP to go and use it, but it's literally right there waiting for you to make it your own. And honestly, there's a ton of good stuff in there that really converts. Like I've seen it.
Yep.
Um, so if you need help talking market builder and want to see how you can really take that to the next level in your MSP, let's talk. Figure it out
So that
together.
so that is something you can work with MSPs on then. Is that right? Is that
Yeah,
am I understanding? Oh, nice. So you would manage for that, you would manage it for them, you would pick the campaigns for them, make adjustments, all of that.
right,
Is that correct? Oh,
right.
fancy.
I
Love it. Okay.
it's a ton of content out there, but my goal is not to add more noise that's just being regurgitated with your brand. Like I want to make it yours. So
Yeah.
and you have the capability to do that with that platform. Now it's about getting that strategic operator in place.
Yep. Yep. Nope. I agree. I agree. I love it. I love it. That's great. That's good to hear that you would do that. But what about the email list? Do you have
Yeah.
partners that help you generate lists and how? Because you already know how strict these email platforms are now. Everything is by
Hmm.
metrics, open rates, unsubscribe rates, reporting rates, like reporting spam, bounce rates. So they're collecting all these metrics and determining, oh, these are not opted in. These
Right.
are he purchased this list. So what do you do in order to overcome this type of challenge? Because email, let me tell you, it's become a challenge now. It's like cold calling.
Yep.
Companies now have plenty of technology to screen all their calls. Gatekeepers are great, but maybe they can't afford a gatekeeper, so they have great voice technology that announces your call, who's calling, and they can either decide to take your call or not take your call. So,
Right.
well, yeah, that's another method that is just, I call it the antiquated old school method
Yes.
because it is dead. It's dead. So tell me, how are you going to overcome this challenge with the email?
Yeah. So, number one, I do not provide any sort of list. I'm not going to go pick out lists that you should go buy. My
Yeah.
strategy is let's find these people organically, get your messaging right. You will find people who want to opt in and learn more and raise their hand and become a fan or a part of your community. Like, let's hone in on that. And I guarantee you, you already have clients' emails. And man, let's if we could start there and have a really awesome referral campaign and go from there and have our pipeline of prospects slowly organically trickling in, man, that's money right there, to me. And you're right, like 5 years ago, email marketing was bananas. Like during COVID, I was making a ton of money on email campaigns, and it's like I look I try to save all the really profitable ones. Like I have a little binder, my own little playbook, and if I were to use those same emails today, they're not going to convert the same. It's
Yeah.
going to be way lower because again, everyone and their mom is sending out a newsletter now. What
Yep.
makes you different?
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Focus on your value, your people, and that differentiation. Like stop doing what everyone else is doing
But But don't you have
and
to
be
do some
unique.
don't you have to sometimes do what everyone else is doing to, like, maintain some level of legitimacy? If
Of
you're not
course.
making all that stuff, then people are gonna look at all the other people and go, "Why don't you have a newsletter? Why aren't don't you have a website that converts? Why don't you do all these other things? Don't you just have to do them anyway?"
Yes and no. I mean, some of the big things like a website, of course, but focus on what you know you can provide and scale and prove the case. Like if you're running, I don't know, a newsletter and no one's opting in, one, let's rethink that newsletter and figure out why. But for me, like there's a lot of business owners that feel the need to check a lot of boxes without really thinking about why and the ROI on it. So I'm I'm a big fan of, not trying to do everything all at once, especially with the bandwidth. But these one, two, or three channels, like if you really become the authority in those platforms or, have a big community, amazing. Like let's take that organic strategy and then turn it into a paid strategy. Will it translate? Um, so it's a little bit of both. Like some things are non-negotiable, Gregory, and other things I really think you should step back, see if it's brought you results, and give it another Hail Mary with a really strategic mindset out there. And if it's not, move on to something that is converting and you do have a community presence.
Do you think geography matters?
Definitely if you're a local MSP and you're only serving um, you know, a certain region. Um, but what do you mean by that?
Like, does geography help matter with your message or your strategy? I mean, in our world, we live in the heart of Silicon Valley, so we
Right.
find that it's difficult to like mansplain anything to anyone because they don't they invented it, right? Probably, or their nephew did, or their son is building like a three-stage rocket, and you're like trying to explain firewalls to them. But in like rural country where people are like tending goats, you're like, well, hey, here's this thing called firewall, and they're like, ooh, magic, sorcery, and you're
Right.
like, yeah, this is how it works, and they're like fascinated, right? We need that. So
A-
does your how
Absolutely.
much of a effect does marketing your message have on geography?
I mean, I think you really have to look at your current customers and, you know, figure out um, your ICP. And of course, you're going
What's
to
what is
have
that? What is sorry? What does that mean? ICP.
shit, what's the
Ideal
C stand
client
for?
profile. Ideal
Client
client profile.
profile. I was going to say customer, but I think it's client. Yeah, so literally breaking down your target audience down to the demographics of age, gender, location, what they're interested in. Absolutely, that message is going to look different to someone, you know, running a farm as opposed to someone in Silicon Valley who's used to that kind of stuff. So, yeah, uh, 1000%.
Hmm, hmm. So, Teeny, from A to we're off to the races. How long does it take to onboard a firm, right? Where you're sitting down with them, determining their ICP, their current messaging. How long does it take to onboard a client?
Yeah, so
Typically.
onboarding to me is getting used to their having the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, meaning the platforms, the current email list that we have. Honestly, as far as one going in there, learning your current system, seeing what I need to maintain, and then going a step above that and optimizing and moving on to some adding some things to that. We're looking at a good at least 3 months to where I'm set up, I'm in the driver's seat, I'm running and rolling, and I'm spitting new original content out. But you know, that's just onboarding. I would say that next step where we're seeing results, because that's what everybody cares about. It's like, okay, when will I see results? I don't have that magic answer for you, but for me personally, I am working actively within that 3 to 6 months to validate my own investment that you're making into me. So within 6 months, if I've not validated what you're spending on me, honestly, it might not be even a good fit for both of us. Like I'm not gonna we're not gonna continue bleeding money is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say.
Yeah.
Um, and after that 6 months, I feel like that's, really 6 to 8 months. That's a good sweet spot for me to be like really for both of us to be like, "Okay, I see the potential, I feel it, I see it on our revenue." I can see a healthy pipeline slowly coming from the embers. Those are the things that I'm looking for. But no one in their right mind can say, yeah, invest in me and you'll get 10x in 30 days. Like it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, no, no, no. I've been doing this too long to even have that question come into my brain because
Right.
I just know how it works. It's nobody can give that number, and if they do, it's I would say be a little cautious. I mean, I could
Right.
give you some estimates. I could say, hey, if you start a PPC campaign, and then depending on your competition and how and your budget, you can start generating leads within 3 4 months, right?
Right.
If properly built, if properly managed and optimized and all that. But if it's and same thing with SEO. We just know how long it takes to climb that organic ladder because it's we're a testimonial in itself, right? We saw it happen live.
Right.
With this, what you said a little bit ago, just another question popped up in my head. So, what does your ideal client look for you? Like, you only work with MSPs, so do they need to have any? Is for you to work with them, they need to have obviously a website. They need to be, they need to have an email list. Do they need to have a platform in place? What do they need to have in place in order to make this happen?
Um, yeah, that's awesome question. So, one, my ideal customer profile, like my non-negotiable is I'm looking for partners who want to grow. Point blank.
Sure.
Even if it comes down to hard conversations of why you're not growing, like let's have those. But I'm looking at established MSPs that have proven that they can stick around and they can do business. Meaning, like I love working with the small MSPs that are maybe a million or just short under or maybe 2 million, and they have those big ambitious goals of doubling tripling their business in a few years.
Sure.
I've
Sure.
been a part of that journey in small business, and honestly that is where I want to play because there's just so much energy. And I'm scrappy, I'm bootstrapped, I'm going to do things outside of the box. And yeah, let's see how far we can take this thing. But um ideally, kind of that 1 2 million range around there. But I need someone who has a sales lead, whether it's the owner or a sales staff. Like I need sales and marketing go together like peanut butter and jelly. Or,
Yep. Yep.
in my case, I hate jelly, so peanut butter and banana. But you can't have one without the other. And then if one is failing, you can't look at the other and be like, it's your fault either. It's a revenue team.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and you know, if it comes down to helping you find that revenue team in terms of hiring and training, I'm all there. Like I've done sales training in the past, especially at Microsoft. Like that's just my bread and butter. Like I'm very much trying to start little movements here and turn small MSPs into bigger players.
Yep. 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 All right. Well, I'm going to hit the last question here. And I don't know if it's something that you want to share today because everybody's unique, but how does your pricing work and where does it start at?
Yeah, so I certainly have a partnership mentality, meaning, look, I don't want to be just like you, I don't want to be another vendor. You know,
Yep.
I don't have the right now speaking, I'm not actively looking to go find 100 and 200 MSPs that I can go change the world with. Like that's not my MO right now. Like I want to be working with business owners hand in hand every day, figuring out what's going to work, and having a smaller group of MSPs will help me get there. Of course, as much as I can handle myself, but you know honestly, it will always depend on the size of the MSP and the projects and the scope of work. But typically for like that 10-person MSP or smaller, I'm looking at least 2,500 a month
Okay.
for the first 6 months, and then we'll kind of assess from there. Do
Gotcha.
we stay
Gotcha.
there? Do we ramp it up and go
Yep.
from there?
Okay. Okay. All right. That's fair. But what do they get for that 2,500? This is the email management and marketing aspect of building a brand. Is that right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, anything's possible. I'm still trying to figure out you know what I really want to hone in onto. But the point is, that whatever marketing efforts you have going on, whether it's organic or paid, I'm in it to win it.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Okay. Great. Great. Greg, do you have any other questions? You
No, that was
asked
very
some.
informative, very helpful. Thanks.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that was great, Teeny. Thank you so much for joining us today. That's the end of
Thank
the
you.
show. Can we give your URL real quick because I forgot to include it in my agenda here.
Yep, it's pretty easy. Drippycontent.com, DRIPPYCONTENT.com.
All right. All right. Well, thanks for sharing that. And thank you to all the listeners. And don't forget to sign up to be a member at the MSPcorner.com. Please share our link with with a CEO or owner who will find our information beneficial to their business. And Teeny, thanks again. Don't hang up. We want to say a quick goodbye, but I appreciate you joining us today and sharing what your company has to offer the MSP world.
Hey, I love your mission, Fernando and Gregory. Like, keep doing it. Let's save some more MSPs.
There you go. All right. Thanks again. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to sign up to be a member on www.mspcorner.com. Please share our link with a CEO who will find our information beneficial to their business. Have an awesome day.